Shalom Israel, it's your brother Marcus G back with yet another Truth for Thought. First and foremost, I must give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High. I must give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High. Secondly, Royal Gathering. We are still accepting donations to totally secure the building. We have been able to secure the deposit for the building, but we've not totally secured the venue. For that, Israel, we are reaching out to you all, asking that you all be charitable and donate towards that cause as we look to see you all on the 26th of May. We are so looking forward to meeting you all. All of us are working diligently to make sure that it's definitely a good time for Israel. If you didn't experience the first one, we implore you, make it to this one. We don't care if you're in a camp or not in a camp. If you're not in the truth, we ask you to come to learn and to see the importance of being in the truth. If you are in the truth, you know that it's written that we are to gather ourselves together, Israel. So the link for the GoFundMe is going to be down in the description in regards to the Royal Gathering. Next, I've always said to you, Israel, to keep our nation wrapped in prayer. I do have some people in particular that I am coming forward to you, Israel, and asking that you keep wrapped in prayer. First and foremost, my beloved brother, King Ricky, who goes by the handle of Pretty Ricky on YouTube. Israel, I ask that you keep our beloved brother in prayer as he is the entire reason. It was him that the Most High had on my heart for this particular truth thought. Next, I want to say Queen Shay, my spiritual aunt, and her family. Keep them in your prayers, if you would, please, Israel. I do keep all these individuals that I'm going to name. I've been keeping in prayer. Next is Queen Paula and her family, which consists of Queen Crystal, Queen Ashley, King Joshua, and Queen Brittany. Israel, I ask on their behalf that you keep them wrapped in prayer. Also, my beloved brothers, King Yada, King Gideon, King Mike Malice, my beloved sisters, Queen Rita, Queen Tanya, Queen Carly. Keep them all wrapped in prayer. A request from me to you, Israel. And also, I have not forgotten about Queen Kenya and King Jermaine. Israel, if you would, please keep them all wrapped in prayer. And of course, I ask that you also keep me in prayer. All those individuals I've been keeping in prayer. If I forgot anybody, please just let me know. Oh, Queen Tawanda, keep her in prayer. If I forgot anybody, or if you're someone who definitely needs prayer, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I'll leave my Instagram in the description. Now, and last but not least, I don't know if I said it or not, me, please. I ask you, Israel, keep me in prayer. And as always, I always ask this of Israel, keep our nation wrapped in prayer. Times are showing that it's something that's needed desperately. It has always been needed in Israel. It is definitely needed in Israel as time progresses here on the face of what man calls planet Earth. Now, this truth for thought. A little earlier, you all heard me ask that you keep King Ricky, aka Pretty Ricky, if you are ever in King Mike Malice's chat or in my chat, you can definitely see him there. The reason that I'm asking that you keep him wrapped in prayer is, again, he's the reason for this truth for thought. Now, prior to me really getting into it, I want to show you all some things. So I'm going to share my screen. One sec. I want to share my screen so that you all will understand. This is a message that I sent to our beloved brother, King Ricky. And I'll read it to you. It says, Shabbat Shalom, King. I want you to know that both King Mike Malice and I both have set up an account and are here for and with you, King. Hope all is well. I personally, every Sabbath, will be messaging you, if only to bid you Shabbat Shalom. I will also be sending you the calendar of the High Holy Days, King, and I'm going to be putting a calendar for the High Holy Days of this year on Instagram. Israel loves you, and remember the scripture I sent you, Deuteronomy 31:6. And if you get into a position of lowliness, after reading that, then read Joshua 1:9. Love you, King. Until next time, be it the Most High will. Shalom. Stay strong and of good courage, King. All right. So you all see that. And then here's another message that I wanted you all to see, because I want you all to know when I use or when I speak of people's personal accounts, I definitely ask to do so. So in this text, you see where I say, for my truth for thought tomorrow, I was going to speak about your incident and its repercussions. I wanted to ask you directly, King, if it was all right with you if I do so, and if it's all right with you if I include your name. If not, I was simply going to summarize the account and the repercussions without mentioning your name. I did let Israel know that you said you love them all. And King Mike Malice's, this was this past Friday night in his lesson. For those that are here that were there, I posted that King Ricky says he loves you all, Israel. That was as a result of this. And I ask that they keep you wrapped in prayer. Again, I love you, my beloved brother, and Shalom. This was his response. Yes, use my name. I've always wanted my mistakes to teach a lesson. So, now I'll get into his account. As this account, ever since it happened, I was there with King Ricky for this part of the account that I'm going to share with you. My beloved brother had texted me on Wednesday, actually on Tuesday, saying he would have a trial on Wednesday. That this trial was in regards to an incident where an Edomite continuously and disrespectfully was coming at our beloved brother. All right. Now our beloved brother was kind of kept his distance, whatever, to the point that this particular Edomite just kept on and kept on, till it provoked our beloved brother. Now, our beloved brother simply got a stick and struck this Edomite. Struck him only 3 times. Twice in the face, and once on his arm. As a result, this Edomite's occipital was broken, his jaw was broken, and his arm was broken. Now, the Bible does say in regards to Esau and Jacob, one nation would be stronger than the other. And obviously, the proof is in the pudding, which nation was stronger. Now, again, this was a provoked incident, all right? This has been a case that's been going on for our beloved brother for 3 years. So when I got the text on Tuesday, it was to let me know, King, keep me in prayer. I'm going to go to trial tomorrow on the incident that I spoke to you about. I said, okay. So he calls me the morning, that Wednesday, the morning of the trial. I'm on my way, King. Keep me in prayer. I said, I got you. I'm already facing the east. So he texts me. He's at court. And he texts me saying, and it's just summarization. I can pull my phone and read it verbatim, but the summarization was, my lawyer is making this guy look like a fool. Even his attorney is getting upset. The judge is even saying, why would you continue to anger and provoke him if you didn't want anything to be as a result of this, right? So he texts me a little later saying they wanted to give him 2 Class D felony charges, one being second-degree assault, the other being a terroristic act. Again, both are Class D felonies. The terroristic act carried 15 years itself with 1 year mandatory. And the second degree assault, 15 years itself with 1 year mandatory. So he texted me. He said they dropped the terroristic charge. Now they're arguing the assault charge. I said, all praises, the Most High is there with you. I then sent him Deuteronomy 31:6. And I want to go there real quick. And I want to read it. Simply because I don't know who else might need to hear this. I've said it to a couple of the people I asked you all to pray for. I read it myself. But I want to go to Deuteronomy 31:6. And I'm going to get back to the story. But I want to read this. And it reads, be strong and of a good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord thy God, he it is that doth go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Right? So I sent him that. And as you all saw from my text, from my message to him, I then gave him Joshua 1:9. Now, first I want to point out, this is not a question. This is a declarative statement. Remember that, because when we go to Joshua 1:9, which we're finna do right now, we're going to go to Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. And it reads, have not I commanded thee? So think back about Deuteronomy 31:6. And I said, this is not a question. Now, this is a question. This is the Most High speaking. Now, truthfully enough, he was speaking to Joshua in regards to going to war. In this account, when Joshua went to war this time, this was the account where the Most High kept the sun in the sky. He did not let it turn dark for 2 straight days. All right. But listen to what this says. Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. Right? So I text those things. I messaged those things to him. Well, I text those to him while he was in. And I'll stop sharing my screen real fast. I text him those things while he was there in court. Right? He texted me back. He said, they're deliberating now. They're about to come back and deliberate on whether I'm guilty of 2nd degree assault. So he texts me back. He says, they found me guilty. He said, although, the judge said what he said, the unfortunate truth is this is a trial. So it's the jury. Although the judge is saying, you were foolish, you should not have provoked him. This is all on your hands. If you wouldn't have did, this is when he was talking to the plaintiff who's with the state. If you wouldn't have did what you did, then none of this would have happened, right? But the jury, ironically or coincidentally, there's no such thing as irony or coincidence, finds him guilty of 2nd degree assault. He texted me back. He said they'll be coming back for sentencing soon. He said, you've been in the system before. You know how this go. If I don't text you back, you know what it is. I text him back, you're absolutely correct. But as I said, the Most High is in there with you. So I eagerly awaited. I did not hear back from my beloved brother, King Ricky. So I went searching for my brother. The next day, Thursday, I'm reaching out to people to find out some pertinent information in regards to our beloved brother, King Ricky. And I get it. Sirach, if you hear from Glorious and Warlock Apparel, all praises to you, King. All praises to the Most High for working through you. Right? I find our beloved brother. And those messages that you saw were through this system that is in place with the prison that he's currently at. So he has to do a mandatory 1 year. Because he was provoked by his enemy. And even with the judge agreeing that King Ricky was correct, again, it was up to the discretion of a jury, right? So they sent him to prison. Thus, the thumbnail. Incarceration, imprisonment, and oppression. That has always been set in place for Israel. So now, I want to share my screen. We're going to start off with a few verses in the Bible. Then we're going to look at some things from the world. Then we're going to go back to the Bible. Okay? And the first place I want to go is, I want to go to Psalms 55 and 3. We're going to start in Psalms chapter 55, and we're going to go to verse 3. And it reads, because of the voice of the enemy, again, because of the voice of the enemy, because of the oppression of the wicked, for thy cast iniquity upon me, and in wrath they hate me. I don't know what made up that jury. I never did ask my beloved brother, King Ricky. But I do know the judge also was an Edomite. And even he said, if you, speaking to the plaintiff, would have done what you did, then none of this would have happened, right? You bit off more than you could chew. You wrote a check your ass couldn't cash, right? But the oppression associated with incarceration and or imprisonment, that's what we're going to go into. Now, your enemies are going to hate you. That's one of the characteristics of enemies. Israel, you have many enemies. And we're going to look at imprisonment and incarceration here in Babylon, right? So now I want to go to Ezekiel chapter 22 and 29, because we're going to examine throughout this truth for thought some history in regards to incarceration, in regards to imprisonment, in regards to prisons here in Babylon. But let's go to Ezekiel chapter 22. And we're going to get verse 29. And it reads, "The people of the land have used oppression," your enemies used oppression, "and exercised robbery, and have vexed the poor and needy." I did a truth for thought on the poor and needy. "Yea, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully." The stranger in this verse is you, Israel, as you are not in your land. Right? So the people of this land, your enemies, have used oppression and exercised robbery and have vexed the poor and needy, have vexed Israel. Yea, they have oppressed you, Israel, wrongfully. If you think back on King Ricky's account, even the judge, had it been his call, it appears as if this was done wrongfully, that he would have ruled for the latter, right? So now, when I realized that my beloved brother was he's incarcerated, first thing that struck me was anger. So if you would, please turn to Ecclesiastes. We're going to get chapter 7 and verse 7. And it reads, "Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart." When I realized that my beloved brother, our beloved brother, King Ricky, was definitely incarcerated for basically handling someone that provoked him to do such, and then hearing that even the judge agreed that his actions were proper, but the jury rules differently. Oh, it angered me. It angered me. The whole time, Israel, I want y'all to know, I was thinking I was going to do a truth for thought way different than this. This has been on my heart ever since Tuesday. Then Wednesday happened. Then Thursday, I'm searching for my beloved brother. Finally found him. Set up an account. There's an account that can be set up. Me and my beloved brother, King Mike Malice, that you saw in one of those messages, we have set up an account. We will, like I said in that message, I'm going to walk with my brother. I'm going to be there for him and with him. I'm not going to ask of you all, Israel, to do anything for him, as I look myself to do things for him, to help him. My beloved brother, King Mike Malice, he too has already made up in his mind, and this goes without question for us. Be there for him and with him. If it's nothing, like I said, but telling him Shabbat Shalom every Friday. putting money on his books. I'm going to be doing all of that. Money for commensaries. I'm going to be doing all of that. I'm going to be there for and with my brother to the end. To the end. So now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So y'all see, it's on my heart. I'm angry. He's obviously, even in the eyes of the judge, the presiding judge, he's obviously wrongfully oppressed. Right? You read about wrongfully being oppressed back in Psalms 55 and 3, right? So now I want to share my screen because I want to get the definition of first oppression, right? First, I want to get the definition of oppression. Only two definitions. The first being to crush or burden by abuse of power or authority. We look back at that, at my beloved brother King Ricky's account. Even the judge there, he wasn't of power of authority. But he clearly stated what he stated, yet the jury was of power and authority in King Ricky's case. Let's look at the second one. To burden spiritually or mentally, weigh heavily upon. All right. We're going to go into the history of incarceration or imprisonment here in Babylon. I've been incarcerated. And I'll tell you, it can literally kill you. When it comes to the mental and spiritual death that can happen, if you get incarcerated, you run a risk of it. It definitely can happen. In fact, there's a high chance that it will happen, right? So let's get a little history. All the links to everything, as always, anything in any of my truthful thoughts, all the links are going to be in the description. But let's look at the history of prisons, okay? Let me drop this down so kind of open the screen up. So, from the birth of modern civilization in 3rd millennia BC, almost every major ancient civilization used concepts of prisons as a means to detain and remove personal freedoms of incarcerated people. So prisons didn't just start yesterday. We're going to get a couple of accounts in the Bible of some wrongful imprisonments of Israel to prove exactly what the title said. This has been a type of oppression for Israel for a long time. All right. Let me get a little bit more of this. In those early periods of history, prisons were often used as a temporary stopgap before sentencing to death or life of slavery. Now, I want to ask before I finish that, is there any irony or coincidence in the fact that that is there. That is there for a reason. First, it's very true and very accurate. And we're going to see as we keep going, we're going to see some things. Just walk with me, Israel. But as time went on and our civilization developed, prisons started morphing into correctional facilities that started implementing the concept of rehabilitation and reform of prisoners. I will tell you, that is the picture they like to paint. I've been in this system. You can very well die mentally and spiritually. That if that is the rehab and reform they are seeking, keep that in mind, is that helping or hurting Israel? Because we're going to get some stats. We're going to see of incarcerated people, what percent are of Israel? And if this incarceration is to reform or rehabilitate, and it can very well lead to mental and spiritual death, that doesn't sound like a good thing for Israel at all. The Bible already says, for lack of knowledge, basically ignorance. That's a mental stagnation. Due to that, the Most High's people are destroyed. Right? You've heard me say on numerous occasions, try the spirit. Well, if they spiritually dead, what is there to try? There's nothing to try. Not only that, if they're spiritually dead, they got to be built back up again. But in order to be built back up again, they got to unlearn all the other bullshit they've learned. None of this, Israel, is good for Israel, but I'm going to get some stats. Some very, very real stats. Because there are some truths that are going to be exposed. All right. I want to get a little bit of this next part because one of the first bondages, hard bondages of Israel was in Egypt, right? I just want to get a little bit more. In fact, I'm going to go down to about right here where it says workforce. The earliest records of prisons come from the first millennia BC, located on the areas of mighty ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt. Uh-oh. Israel? We was around over in those places in some hard bondage. Now remember what it said a little earlier. Before the sentencing to death or life, a life of slavery. All of this in mind. This all walks hand in hand with bondage, as both are types of oppression, right? But they usually escort one another. Slavery and incarceration or imprisonment. They walk hand in hand with one another. All the way from way back then. But again, this is just from the world. I'm going to come with some accounts straight from the Bible to further show that the world has proven the word to be true. All right. During those times, prisons were almost always stationed in the underground dungeons where guilty or suspected criminals spent their life either awaiting death sentence or a command to become slaves, often working as galley slaves. Now, I want you to think about that and look at modern day prisons. You can be driving on an expressway and you'll see people with these jumpsuits on and they're cleaning the land. Now, these people with these jumpsuits on are prisoners or incarcerated prisoners. Yet they're cleaning the land. With the institution or initialization of prisons, it was to continue to get a service for little or nothing. It was the continuation of slavery. Point blank, period. To the point that today in 2023, you see the same thing. It's mentioned that this was what they were doing back in BC, right? Let's keep going. Exception from the rule comes from the home of modern democracy, Greece. So you finna see where modern day Babylon, some of the things they adopted, right? There, prisoners were held in poorly isolated buildings where they could often be visited by their friends and family. Primary source of their detention were not dungeons. However, they were high walls or bars, but simple wooden blocks that were attached to their feet. Wooden blocks attached to their feet, almost like shackles. That's another vision that people, if you envision shackles, right? It's all associated with oppression. Again, you see where slavery and incarceration are walking hand in hand all the way throughout history. But you see that they're both types of oppression, yet they're always together, synchronized with each other, walking hand in hand. Ancient Roman Empire, however, continued to use harsher methods. Now, you got to think, these are about the times when Yahweh Shah is here. One of the accounts, the ruler, that I'm going to go over in the Bible, the ruler Herod, the same ruler who wanted Yahweh Shah killed, who slaughtered any man child around the age of Yahweh Shah, right? He wrongfully imprisoned an Israelite in the account, one of the accounts that I'm going to go into when we go back to the Bible. Their prisons were built almost exclusively underground with tight and claustrophobic passageways and cells. Prisoners themselves were held either in simple cells or chained to the wall for life or for time. As slavery was accepted norm, in those days. Majority of prisoners that were not sentenced to death were sold as slaves or used by the Roman government as workforce, just like you see today as you driving on the highway and you see those jailees cleaning the land. They are workforce for God-forsaken Babylon for little or no charge. So, I want to go from there to this next article, right? This is straight from the New York Times, right? Look at this. Slavery gave America a fear of Black people and a taste for violent punishment. Both still define our criminal justice system. I didn't say this. I'm simply reading it. The world is telling you, Israel, they fear you. They're scared of you. And there's a reason that they're scared of you, because see, the Most High, your God, oh boy, when he with you, every other biblical nationality knows they have no chance. But let's just read about, again, we're just looking at God-forsaken modern day Babylon. Let's see what this is. Now, I'm just going to read a little bit of this. I'm going to read down to about a little into this second paragraph. Several years ago, my law office was fighting for the release of a Black man who had been condemned at the age of 16 to die in prison. You have a 16-year-old on death row. Matthew was one of 62 Louisiana children sentenced to life. 62 children of Israel. He was one of the 62. Sentenced to life imprisonment without parole for non-homicide offenses. I want to go back and revisit Ezekiel 22:9. And being wrongfully subject to this type of oppression. But a case I'd argue at the Supreme Court was part of a 2010 ruling that banned such sentences from juveniles, making our clients eligible for release. Some had been in prison for nearly 50 years. These, when they went in, they were babies. Babies. The whole of their life is gone. Mentally and spiritually dead coming to, they was babies. They were not learning while incarcerated. And what they were learning very well could have been lies and not the truth. Almost all had been sent to Angola, a penitentiary considered one of America's most violent and abusive. 62 children sent to Angola. 62 children of Israel sent to Angola. 62 children of Israel oppressed in Angola. Angola is immense, larger than Manhattan, covering land once occupied by slave plantations. Is there any irony or coincidence in this? No irony or coincidence in it. Our clients there worked in fields under the supervision of horse-riding, shotgun-toting guards who forced them to pick crops, including cotton. I say again, prisons, jails were an extension of slavery. It was the one way, Israel, that your enemies could continue to reap the benefits of things on your back for little or no cost. Again, these were 62 children. This is what they did. While being rode around with shotgun carrying deputies, right? It's no different than being at the slave plantation where the slave keepers are riding around, shotgun wielding, watching them perform the duties of slavery, watching them being oppressed. But this oppression is in a prison. And prisons have been around for a long, long time, even in biblical times. How early in biblical times? As early as Genesis. I'm going to prove it because that's where I'll get the second account of someone wrongfully in prison of Israel. But let me keep going. Their disciplinary records show that if they refuse to pick cotton or fail to pick it fast enough, they could be punished with time in the hole. All of this, if you watch Django, they put his wife in the hole. This was on a plantation. This was slavery. Just keep, and even today, I spent time in the hole during a stint of mine. I was in solitary confinement, the hole. There's nothing new under the sun, Israel. This has been happening to us. We've been targeted since way back in the day. And again, I'm going to bring you an account from Genesis. That's about as close to the beginning as you can get. That is the beginning, as Genesis is the genome of, the beginning of. Let me keep going, because y'all may see I'm starting to get a little angry, because I realize, I understand, this is talking about 62 kids. This is not talking about adults. Not yet. Not yet. Just talking about some kids. And this is in direct reference to modern day Babylon. God-forsaken modern day Babylon. Right? Let me keep going. Where food was restricted and inmates were sometimes tear gassed Still, some black prisoners, including Matthew, considered the despair of the whole preferable to the unbearable degradation of being forced to pick cotton on a plantation. Now they're referring to the actual prison as a plantation at the end of the 20th century. I was fearful that such clients would be denied parole based on their disciplinary records. I'm not going to go any deeper into that. The link to this will be in the description. But here you see Matthew, who's one of these 62 kids, preferred to be in the hole or solitary confinement where he would get less food. He would get even poorer treatment. He preferred that than to continue to be a slave at the end of the 20th century. One reason that, and I did a truth of thought, which was Babylon wants to erase Israel from remembrance. One of the reasons they don't want slavery taught in schools, the things that they did to our people taught in schools, is because they still doing the shit today. They literally will be pointing the finger at themselves right now in reference to their history, our history. Let's go to the next. Let's just again, links to are in the description. Visualizing the racial disparities in mass incarceration. We finna look at some stats. All right? We finna look at some stats. Because in the Bible, in Ezekiel 22, verse 29, it said, the people of the land were oppressing, even then, a certain people who were strangers in that land. We're strangers in Babylon, right? So the people of Babylon, they're doing the same thing today, just like the Bible said, right? I guess I'll read a little bit of this, right? We'll read a little bit of this. We'll read a little bit of this, then we're going to start getting into some stats, right? Recent protests calling for racial changes to American policing have brought much needed attention to the systemic racism within our criminal justice system. I'm literally just reading this verbatim because it's not mine. So I'm not attaching my name with their hour. But they're literally saying they shit don't stink and people starting to smell it. Their shit stinks, rather, and people are starting to smell it, right? This extends beyond policing, of course. Systemic racism is evident at every stage of the system. They're talking about their own system, Israel. They're literally telling you about their system. And they are willingly admitting from policing to prosecutorial decisions, such as the fact that our beloved brother King Ricky, the judge presiding it, said in his words that King Ricky did nothing that was not appropriate for the situation. Yet, and still, the jury locked him up. I'm going to start back right here at from policing. From policing to prosecutorial decisions, pre-trial release processes, sentencing and correctional discipline, and even reentry. That, if you've never been involved in the system here, that's every part of the correctional system. Each and every part. Each and every portion of it. Even up to and including getting locked up again a second time, or violating probation and having to come back now and serve. That's reentry. The racism inherent in mass incarceration affects children, as we read in the previous article, as well as adults, and is often especially punishing for people of color who are also marginalized along other lines, such as gender and class. Again, I did a truth or thought on the poor and needy. Same people, Israel, is us. It's us again. Here we go. Because racial disparity data is often frustratingly hard to locate, and it is not, it's frustrating for them because the more and more they locate it, the more and more it shows their shit stink. We've compiled the key data available into a series of charts arranged into 5 slideshows focused on policing, juvenile justice, jails, and pretrial detention, pretrial detentions, prisons, and sentencing and reentry. Every portion of the criminal justice system. Every part of it, every facet of it, everything that encompasses that particular thing. These charts provide a fuller picture of racial inequality in the criminal justice system, just what I just said, and make clear that a broad transformation will be needed to uproot the racial injustice of mass incarceration. I will tell you, Israel is never going to change, because that's what this motherfucking place was built on. That is what makes this engine, the engine of this motherfucker, run. It became illegal to make us clean the land. So they made a legal way to make us clean the land. That's not going to change. The people of this land, as we read in Ezekiel 22, they are going to oppress us, including incarceration. They will do it wrongfully. And a wise man, any wise man, that's a male and female elected, that same type of oppression will anger them. So let's look at some of them. There are racial disparities in policing and arrests. Black people are disproportionately stopped on the street by police, while white people are much more likely to call the police for help. I'm going to have the link for all of this. All these. But I just want you to look at these. Among individuals who have contact with police, people of color disproportionately experience the use of force. And as you can see, the top is people who had any police contact. The bottom is people who experience police use of force. You see Black, Hispanic, included in that other, and you're going to see it a little later, is natives. Overwhelming Israel. Black people. There are race. This again is policing and arrest. Black people are disproportionately likely to be arrested and to be arrested repeatedly in the same year. Remember that reentry? This is the beginning of the reentry phase. Never arrested and booked in the past year. And you see arrested and booked once in the past year. And look at how the percent jumps up for melanated people. I'm not going to sit here and just continuously say Black. For melanated people that are referred to as such, as Black or African American. But, and you see that number jumped from 12 to 21%, right? Look at this. Answer me this. Is this irony or coincidence? Because this says arrested and booked once in the past year, right? You see 21% for the Blacks. You see 18% for our brethren, Hispanics. And you see other 8%, that's going to include natives. But look, arrested and booked multiple times in the past year. The percent for Black goes up an extra 7%. It went up 9% from never arrested in the past year to 21%. Now it goes up another 7% to 28%. Hispanics, they lock our beloved brethren from the northern kingdom. They lock them up about the same percent, whether it's once in a year or multiple times in a year, as the natives, right? People of Gadites. Let's look at this. Racial disparities in the arrest and confinement of youth. As you can see, the majority of these mass shootings, right? Let's look at these mass shootings, right? Majority of these mass shootings. Who are those people? Just type it in the chat for me. Who are those people, right? Yet their number goes down. But Hispanics and Blacks, it goes up. Let's keep going. Watch this. This is just juvenile. This is the number. The juvenile justice system confines Black youth at over 4 times the rate of white youth. Here you see Black, American Indian, natives, and Hispanic. And look at this. Look at Israel. This is about their numbers, Israel. I'm not making none of this shit up. Let's look at this. For the lowest level offenses, Black and American Indian youth are confined at rates over 3 times the rate of white youth. You see the American Indian? You see the tribe of Gad? You see the so-called Black. And still more than Esau or Edom. Still of the nation of Israel. You see the northern kingdom. Others of the northern kingdom outside of Gad. Is there irony or coincidence? This is just the youth. I've not even gotten to the adults. Let's keep going. Let's keep looking. And I'm telling you, it pisses me off looking at it because I had to go and get this stuff and get this information, and do this research. If it angers you, understand that shows signs that you are a wise man or woman. Per the Bible. Racial disparities in local jail incarceration rates. This was in 2018. You see the so-called Black, so-called American Indian or Native. And by a number of 5. There are 5 more people of Edom or Esau than Hispanics. However, understand this, of those 4 groups, 3 of them make up Israel, and the white and not Hispanic don't make up Israel. Overwhelmingly. Overwhelmingly. Let me keep it. Let's just see. Pretrial populations. The disparity of Blacks and Hispanics have more than doubled over 15 years. I cannot make this shit up, Israel. And to anybody that truly doesn't understand that Israel is made up by so-called Blacks, so-called Hispanics, and so-called natives, the proof is in the pudding. Here you go. The same shit that's happening to you is happening to your brethren. Here is the proof in the pudding. If you reside in the United States, this is definitely proof in the pudding for you. Let's just look at this. People detained pre-trial because they can't pay bail or are much poorer than their peers, the poor and needy. I did a truthful thought about these people. I did a truthful thought about you, Israel. The poor and needy. And the income gaps are widest for Black people. Notice they also include your brethren, the Hispanic people, tribes of Ephraim, Issachar, things of that nature. Let's go to the next one. I gotta touch this one because of my beloved brother, King Ricky. I had to get to this one, and I'm gonna stop at this one. We're gonna get a little bit more history but I had to get this one. Racial disparities in prison incarceration rates. When it comes to extreme sentences and solitary confinement, right? And it don't even matter if it's male or female. This is the racial disparity in prison incarceration by sex. You got so-called blacks, other, which includes the natives, and Hispanics. They all are, and it doesn't matter if it's male or female, leading the way in incarceration. Most people in prison are poor, and the poorest are women and people of color. How much more proof, Israel, do you need to know that the poor and needy are you, Israel? Let's see who make up these people. And you see the blacks, the Hispanics, the blacks, the Hispanics. It doesn't matter if it's men or women. I can't make this up. Black people are disproportionately serving sentences of life, life without parole, or virtual life. Look at this. I can't make this shit up. I can't make this up. Let's just look at the next one. And if you've noticed, Israel, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter what category you look at. It doesn't matter if you look at male and females of these particular peoples. It's the same damn thing. Black people are overrepresented on death row, while white people are underrepresented. On here, you see that 55.5% are of the nation of Israel. They're either Hispanic or black on death row. They didn't even, the natives you don't even see on here. 55.5. Black men and women are overrepresented in solitary confinement, the whole, when compared to total prison population. Everywhere you see, it's going to be the nation of Israel. It doesn't matter what category they're talking about. Proof of the poor and needy. This is proof of the poor and who these people are. You have black women, and you have black men. Well above white women and white men. Formerly incarcerated people have very high rates of homelessness, especially women and people of color. Again, you see Northern and Southern Kingdom, black and Hispanic. You can go through all these stats. I might look down just to see. Nah, that's it. You can go through all these stats. Link gonna be in the description. It don't matter what you look at. You're gonna always see Northern and Southern Kingdom. It doesn't matter. It don't matter how, if the stat is not so bad a stat, or if the stat is just all out bad stat. In regards to this type of oppression, it's going to be the Northern and Southern Kingdom. It's going to be Israel. It's going to be the so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native. They are the ones that being oppressed with this type of oppression. Let's move to the next thing. Let's move to the next thing. Let's get this. Let's get the title of this. The origins of prison slavery. I told y'all, this shit walks hand in hand all throughout time. All the way from the beginning, all the way from Genesis in the Bible. How Southern whites found replacements for their emancipated slaves in the prison system. I want y'all to notice this. You see that wrapped around, see that around his waist right here? You see that chain right there? This is where you finna start seeing about the chain gang. I'm gonna read a little bit about this. Then we're gonna go back to the Bible. And I'm gonna end this truth for thought. I'm gonna get two accounts of two Israelites where the world did exactly what the world continues to do. But per 1 Thessalonians 5:21, I gotta prove all things. And I want no stone unturned. So I go through the links that I do. I do the research that I do. I put before you the things that I do so that there is no question. None whatsoever. It's very, very understandable. In August, an organization called the Incarcerated Workers Organization Committee announced that prisoners in at least 17 states had pledged to stage a strike to protest prison conditions. Now, we read a long time ago about the prison conditions up in Rome and Greece. There is nothing new under the sun. And the same people that were being imprisoned then and either sentenced to death or sentenced to slavery, it's the same damn people today. Let me keep going. It is unclear how many inmates actually took part in the 19-day strike, but organizers said thousands refused to work. They're prisoners that refused to work. They call this a protest because they refused to work. They're supposed to be just in prison, but they're refusing to work. Staged sit-ins and turned away meals to demand an immediate end to prison slavery. They did the exact same thing that child, Matthew, They'd rather go to the hole. They'd rather not get any meals. They'd rather than to go out here and be a legal slave. This is legal. It's legal if you are oppressed or if you are oppressed in the form of incarceration or imprisonment. It is legal for you now to be a slave. They literally take that right from you. Nationwide, inmates labor and is nationwide. Inmates' labor is essential to running the prison. They cook, clean, do laundry, cut hair, and fulfill numerous administrative tasks for cents on the dollar. If anything, in hourly pay. I told you, Israel. This type of oppression is slavery for little to no pay. Prisoners have been used to package Starbucks coffee. What the fuck they got to do with being locked up? And make lingerie. Queens, don't take this the wrong way. But what if, hypothetically, your Victoria's Secrets was made at a local prison by your beloved brethren for little or no pay? Could you fathom it? In California, inmates volunteer to fight the state's wildfires for just $1 an hour plus $2 a day. Now, I'm a retired firefighter. I've trained people I've sat and watched them train with us here where I reside. And I'm talking about the actual California firefighters. I know what it is and how it is to fight one of those fires. But your beloved brethren, and I was getting paid well for it. Your beloved brethren, my beloved brethren, are risking their very life for $1. $1. $2 for each day they risk their life for $1. They don't have any life insurance. No 401k. No 401b. An optional insurance. Nothing like that. They just for $1. $1 an hour. Now, me, when I was fighting fire, I was making about $30 an hour. Fresh out of fire school. With city benefits. This is not even just a smack in the face, because I know what it entails. This is a smack, a spit, a boot to your face, and while you're on the way down, another boot or two. This is slavery. This is slavery. But again, these types of oppression, incarceration, and slavery, they throughout time have walked hand in hand. So let me stop sharing my screen because we're going to go back to the Bible now. We're going to go back to the Bible. And we're going to look at a couple of accounts. First account we're going to look at is going to be where Herod had a problem with something someone said, an Israelite, one of the apostles. Just something someone said. Remember, we read at the beginning about being wrongfully oppressed, right? So let's start at Mark chapter 6. We're going to start with an account in the New Testament, because we're going to look at an account in the New Testament and the Old Testament, and we're going to see. We're going to go to Mark chapter 6, and we're going to give verses 17 and 18. For Herod himself, it's the same dude that killed every man child around the age of Yahushua, trying to kill Yahushua. Let's just look at this. Herod himself has sent forth and laid hand upon John and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake. Herodias is his wife. But watch this. His brother Philip's wife. That's who it is. I apologize. For his brother Philip's wife. For he had married her. So, yeah, it was his wife. But he had married his sister, his brother's wife. He married his sister-in-law. There's some other shit that these heathens into. But let me just. So Herod is mad at John because John is about to announce something that Herod did, which was Herod married his brother's wife, right? Look, for John has said unto Herod, it is not lawful for thee to have thy brother's wife. And you can read that in Deuteronomy and Leviticus as far as uncovering the nakedness. I can't make this up. This happened in the Bible. He was, just because he said that, he was in prison, incarcerated. Now, I want to get an account from way back in Genesis, and this ain't going to take long because I done been over this account before, and I was talking about the Joseph resisting a temptation, right? I know I've done this account before. So let's go to Genesis 39 because I'm ready to go on and wrap this up. Y'all I'm doing well. I'm not exhibiting my anger. I'm doing well, but man, Israel, believe me, this shit don't sit well with me at all. At all. My beloved brethren, I know I was one of the last people he contacted before going right back into oppression. Let's go to Genesis 39. We're going to give verses 6 through 20. This account is the account of a lustful wife of Joseph's master, his slave owner. Right? She wanted some of Joseph. She wanted Joseph. And somebody's going to recognize this when I say this. She wanted Joseph to take her down. Okay? For lack of better term. Genesis 39. We're going to start at verse 6. We're going to read down to 20. Actually, we're going to read down to like 21, 22. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hands. So Joseph's master left out of town. And he left all of his affairs and everything in Joseph's hands. And he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. So Joseph's master favored Joseph, which is why he left him with all his tasks, right? He felt like he left them in very capable hands by leaving it in Joseph's hands. But notice, scripture does not say he left his affairs into his wife's hands at all. And you finna see why. Because this female ain't right at all. But let's keep going. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. She saw that man one time. And again, I'm going to say, for lack of better terms, she said, take me down. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master roteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hands, meaning he left me responsible for all his stuff. He left it in my hands. It's my responsibility, but not the affairs of inside the house, especially inside the bedroom. Let's keep going. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee. So he's telling her, there is no other slave that he favors more in this house than me. Yet even from me, he keeps you from me, and me from you, because thou art his wife, because you're his wife, right? How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? So he's announcing two things that would be wrong with this. One, it would be wicked. Two, I'm going to be transgressing the law if I do. Verse 10, and it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. Every day that his master, her husband, was gone, she asking him, go on and take me down. I need you to take me down. I want you to take me down. Verse 11. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business that he was tasked to do by his master. And there was none of the men of the house there within. So all the other slaves, they're not there. Nobody in the house but him. As that's a male anyway. No one in the house that's male but him. And she caught him by his garment. She put her hands on his garment. Saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. She comes up to him. She grabbed his his clothes, right? This man fled, left his clothes in her hand, shot clean off, got on down, right? That she called unto the men of her house. Now she's running, calling for men to come to attend to her. Now, this is some shit you see even now today. This is some shit that has happened all over time. And it has always been walking hand in hand with slavery. Listen to this. Then she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came on to lie with me. She telling the law. She telling the police. She telling 5-0. He tried to rape me. He wanted to rape me. He tried to rape me. See, here go his clothes right here. He tried to rape me, right? And I cried with a loud voice. And that's when she hollered, rape. That's when she screamed, rape. Let's keep going. Verse 15. And it came to pass when he had heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garments with me and fled and got him out. So the version that she's telling the police, the version that she's telling 5-0, the version that she's telling the local law enforcement is he tried to rape me, right? But when I hollered rape, when I screamed rape, that's when he took off running and he left his clothes right here. That's her version. That's what she's telling. Let's keep going. And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. She kept, it's like some Monica Lewinsky type stuff. She kept the main clothes all the way until her husband comes back home. Because Joseph didn't go back. It would have been some more problems if Joseph. So Joseph on the run. Right? And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant, which thou hast brought unto us, came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. She tells the same damn story to her husband that she told the local law enforcement, that she told 5-0, that she told the police. Verse 19, and it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, which he spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. So now, Joseph's slave owner, her husband, he mad as hell. Kind of like if you've seen the movie Life. When the Edomite daughter has this child of color that can't get right, done fathered. Look how mad, how red that boy come out of that house. Kind of like that. Just like that. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. Now, I want to give verse 21 just for one reason and one reason alone. And King Ricky, if you hear this, if you can see this truthful thought, whether it's while you're in there incarcerated or after your release, listen to verse 21. Because Joseph was a righteous man. He kept the law, statutes, and commandments just like you. Just like you, King Ricky. I know it. You would call me to verify you doing what you're supposed to do. I was counsel for you. It's the reason why. Even then, I was walking with you. Even now, during your incarceration, I will walk with you. But I want you to hear some things about Joseph that very well are applicable to you, King Ricky. But the Lord was with Joseph. I told you in that courtroom when they dropped that terroristic thing, he there, the Most High there. Well, you would have been looking at 30 plus years, King Ricky, with a mandatory of 2 served prior to conditioning. But the Most High was there. And wrongfully, just as wrong as Joseph was done, just as wrong as John was done by Herod, you were locked up. It's proof in that. Your judge even said. But it wasn't up to the judge. It was up to the jury. Let me finish this. But the Lord Most High was with Joseph and shewed him mercy. I want you to remember that, King Ricky. Of this verse, I want you to remember, but the Lord was with you and showed you mercy. Now, the rest of this verse don't apply because I don't know unless this truly happens. I wouldn't know, but I'm going to finish the and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. So that would mean the warden would have to have favor with you, King Ricky. Because I can't prove that, but I can prove the Most High was with you and showed mercy. Because, again, it could have been 30 plus years with 2 years mando. But that didn't happen. And that's where I'm going to end this truth. Because I'll get to cursing real bad here soon. I did good, though. I did good. Israel, keep our beloved brother, King. And I want to say this so bad. And I'm going to say it this time. King Pretty Ricky. My beloved brother. My God. That's man. He used to reside here where I reside. He just went right across the bridge from me. Israel, please, I ask of you as a personal favor, keep King Ricky, aka Pretty Ricky, in your prayers. As yet again, just as the stats suggest, one of our beloved brothers wrongfully oppressed by the people of this land. Also, Israel, like I said, Israel, Queen Shay, my spiritual auntie, Queen Paula, one of my spiritual mothers, her family, which would be Queen Crystal, Queen Ashley, Queen Joshua, and Queen Brittany. My beloved sisters, Queen Carly, Queen Rita, Queen Tanya, my beloved brothers, King Yada, King Yah Gideon, King Mike Malice, Queen Kenya, and King Jermaine. And of course, I would ask that you pray for me, King Marcus as well. Israel, keep us in prayer. My Instagram will be in the description. For anyone that would like to know any updates of our beloved brother, because as he said, he literally said, you saw it yourself. He wants it to be acknowledged. He said he wants people to learn from his mistake. I'm hard pressed to say that wasn't a mistake. However, I will say he's being wrongfully oppressed. Also, link for donating to the Royal Gathering also in the description. I didn't want to keep y'all too much longer, Israel. So I do want to say to you, Israel, I love you all. And until next time, be at the Most High will. It's your brother Marcus G. And I bid you shalom.